Do you need encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Perdue.
Hey, it's time for us to get started, trying to get some motivation and inspiration. Let's find that little gold nugget that we can use later on when we're going through some little challenges in life. And don't forget the big thing, favorite thing, pass it on, pay it forward, help someone else ahead of you. All right, today we're going to be talking to someone here. Let's get her on up here. And she's going to be talking about childhood. And click the button. Come on, click again. There we are. Adriene Caldwell. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me, James.
So we've got to she's telling us this an adult content a little bit. Sure, we won't go deep, but you may want to advise children. You may want to limit this first and then see if it's appropriate if you want them to hear this. So, correct. And go from there. So, all right. I'm all into, I'm sorry people go through things they go through. We all go through something. Some people seem to go through more than other people. But I love the stories of how everybody overcame, again, have a great life despite what could have been.
You know, I don't say in spite of, I say probably because of. Because those experiences make us who we are. As much trauma and tragedy as I've experienced in my life, I would not change a single thing that has happened to me. And trust me, there have been some very bad things that have happened, but I wouldn't be who I am today without it. So,
most people say that, it's how I was brought up. Again, I wouldn't change it. I definitely wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but it's made me the way I am today. I mean, same thing with me. I told you I got my neck broke playing football. And so not that I would wish being paralyzed on anybody, but it has put me where I'm at today.
Exactly.
So, and so the old thing, what's the old saying? What doesn't kill you make you stronger. So from there. All right. So Adriene, I'm excited to listen a little bit, learn some from you. And so you throw us in where you think is best for us to get started.
Okay, well, let's do it. So my name is Adriene Caldwell. I am the author of the book Unbroken: Life Outside the Lines. It is the story of my life from early childhood to mid-20s. During this time, I was either the witness to or the victim of the sexual assault of a young girl, the drowning death of a child, emotional and physical abuse, extreme poverty, mental illness, homelessness, horrifically abusive foster care, bulimia, drug and alcohol addiction, pedophilia, death, suicide, and incest. So one thing I never want to do, and I don't like when people try to compare, everybody's trauma is significant in its own way. There's no, oh, well, yours was worse than mine. No, it's impactful. It's meaningful in your life. Comparing is pointless. There is no value in it. So James, I'm going to ask you, I gave you the laundry list. Was there any topic that spoke to you that you'd like to hear more about?
Well, I'm interested in all of it. Again, because it's made you who you are. I know we don't have time for all of it. So we can do the Reader's Digest version and just skip through, or pick the ones that's, you felt necessary. So,
okay. Well, if it's okay with you, we can do suicide.
Okay. Because I can talk about that with you.
Exactly. When we were talking off air, you had mentioned that, and I believe it's something we can connect on. So, and you've been open with the audience. They know of your history. I'm not going to divulge anything that you haven't already said.
No, I haven't done a whole podcast on it, which I've been meaning to, but I have mentioned before that I attempted suicide 3 times, 3 days, and in the
Okay.
hospital 7 days. I mean 7 weeks. So yeah, it's out there. I just haven't gone into detail.
Okay. So, like you, I attempted suicide multiple times. Pills, razors. One time, I actually downed a bottle of pills when I was blackout drunk. That's how desperate I was to get out of the pain and the suffering that I was going through in my life. And my subconscious self, in a completely drunken blackout state, I downed a bottle of pills. And not many people know this, but your body will try to save itself. So it was regurgitated. I woke up the next day in a hospital bed. I lifted my head. I looked around. My mom was in the doorway, and I'm like, what happened? I had just gone drinking. And she said, no, you tried to kill yourself. You downed a bottle of pills. And I was like, no, I didn't. I swear I did not take any pills. And it wasn't until they showed me the toxicology report that I was like, oh, wow. Oh, I did. So there was that experience. But the most extreme experience, I got my father's gun. I told my little brother I was going for target practice, and he fetched the gun for me from the closet. And I drove around a little while, knocked back a 6-pack of courage, and I fired a test shot in an open field. No one was around. And by the time I got back to my apartment complex, I was sitting in the driver's seat. Gun was in my hand. I put it to my temple, and I pulled the trigger, and it just went click. And I pulled the trigger again, and again, just click. And what I hadn't realized, the safety, when I was moving the gun, the safety had engaged by less than a millimeter. We're talking like a hair's breadth. That's how the safety engaged. And so, yeah, I should by rights be dead. I pulled the trigger on a gun twice. So my mom actually called me. My little brother had told her that I had the gun for target practice. That's what I told him I was going to be doing.
Yeah.
And she was trying to get a hold of me because she obviously knew the truth. Like I said, it was not my first suicide attempt. But she asked me to come down to her beauty shop, which I made her promise not to call the police. She promised. I went to the beauty shop, immediately swarmed by 4 or 5 patrol cars. They put me in the back. They took me to the nearest psych facility. And it was in that psych facility, I found an empty room, and I laid on the floor, and I was completely alone. There was just a little bit of light coming out of one rectangular window, and I experienced something that's really hard to describe. It's like a wave of serenity came over me. Just complete peace, complete calm. And that's when I knew that I would not be allowed to leave this planet, this earth, until I had met whatever it was supposed to be, whatever God intended for me, until I had met that job, until I had accomplished what he has set out for me. Now, I wish he would have sent a memo. That would have been helpful. But maybe my book is one way of me trying to share my experiences and and hopefully to give others hope, so that, unlike me, whereas I have to make this mistake myself before I learn, hopefully others can garner from my book, from your book, take those lessons and not have to live the trauma and tragedy themselves.
That's right. So. And you mentioned your book a few times here, so there we go. I like the design of it.
Thank
Pretty
you.
Good. Like the outdoors life. So
that photograph
looks
was taken by my brother, David Baker. He's a professional photographer, and I actually have the rights to the collection. So pretty soon on all of my social media, which everything's under Unbroken Caldwell, Unbroken Caldwell, my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the fun stuff. Is even my website is Unbroken Caldwell. So,
all right. So we got to get your cover up here. And so, when do you say it's due?
It should be out in the fall.
In the fall. All right.
The fall. I wish it was sooner, but I honestly, I could have spent another month just writing. So
yeah, that's when I wrote my first one. I could have easily kept going. You just got to finally stop it, and then later on have book 2 or session 2 or whatever you want to call it, a whole new book anyway. So
yeah, it's been so odd since I've turned the manuscript in. I'm like, what do I do with myself? What do I do with my time?
Yeah.
So
my last podcast we did, this gentleman, because I encourage people to write their book. Write a book. Even if you don't want it published, at least get it self-published and have it passed down, because your grandkids, great-great-grandkids, people who's not going to know you any longer can read how you are. And they'll say, look, I got the same nose. I got the same ears. I got the same mindset, so they can at least do that. So, but my last podcast, the gentleman was 81. Wow. And he finally decided to get his up and out.
Good for him. Good for him.
That was good. So, all right.
There is a second book coming. It'll be mid-20s on. I've had a really exciting life. We can call it.
Sometimes these books can get addicting. I've written now 11 or working on my 12th one, but wow, five of them are little children's books. It's about my service dog, with him helping kids or seniors, stuff like that. So, all right. So, yep, it can get addicting if you continue writing. I tell you, the best stories, some of the best stories you will never hear from people that's read it and how you help their life. You may never hear anything about it, but you have to trust the system that somebody's getting you something and it's helped. But I'll tell you this, mine one time, my very first book, One More Play. And again, it's about a year apart, this story, before I give you the answer. But the very first time a girl come by, she goes, hey, there's Ricardo. That was my service dog. And I said, yes, old Ricardo. I said, he meets everybody. I can't keep up with everybody's name. And she says, well, I've never met him. He was on the front of your book. I said, well, yeah. She said, well, I read your book. And I usually ask this question, how did you get it? Did someone give it to you, refer it? You Google a motivational book and it popped up? Did you find it laying in a trash can? Is what I ask them. Now, before I tell you that answer, a year later, we're at the store and somebody stops me and he says, I want to let you know I read your book 4 times. Wow. And well, first thing out of my head, I didn't say it out loud. First thing in my head, I'm going, you didn't read that damn book 4 times. I haven't even read it 4 times. So, but I didn't say that to him. I said, well, I'm glad, man. I said, I hope you get something out of it. He said, what I've read, it's going to help me in life. Then by the time his girlfriend comes in, it's just a guy. He said, yep, that's him right there. And so then here, I asked him the same question. If you don't mind, how did you get the book? someone give it to you, refer it, find laying in the sewer, and here's where both answers are exactly the same. And again, you may never know, but God was kicking me in the butt those 2 days, telling me, I'm going to show you how you're helping people. Both of them said the exact same thing. I was locked up in the county jail, and
Okay.
your book is in the library, county jail library.
That's a fantastic idea. That's
It-
a phenomenal idea.
well, I didn't put it in there. I
Oh,
found out from 2 other friends, both of them claimed they sent to the jail.
oh wow.
So
Now, I
that
did
was
want to mention one thing, and that is that writing this book has been the most excruciatingly painful thing. Next to the events themselves, writing it has been so difficult. Did you find that yourself?
not really, but again, I
Really?
didn't go through pedophile and incest and sexual abuse and whatever else. The suicide, yeah, was difficult writing because you're having to relive what it is. Here's
Exactly.
here's what I found overall. It was more therapeutic for me that I'm opening up some things that I've never really told people.
Right.
And you're opening up and healing. That's what I found more than being so. Again, I haven't gone through some of the stuff that you've been through, so I could see where definitely that would be, not wanting to relive it.
Yeah, it was so. I have something. So my target audience, obviously, I'm hoping to help people who are struggling, whether they've had difficulties in the past or are enduring difficulties now. But I do have a second target audience. I would love for my book to be used as a firsthand experience for people in psychology or counseling programs studying childhood trauma. And I actually gave my manuscript to my psychiatrist, and she gave it to her intern, who's now a psychologist.
Hmm.
And the intern said that the book gave her the firsthand look. And what I have that I don't know of any other book having this, I have all of my case records from when I went into foster care.
Oh wow.
So I have the psychiatric evaluations, I have the monthly reports, I have all of the evidence, all the clinical case file stuff. So if I give my book to, ideally, I want professors to make my book part of the curriculum because
Hmm.
it is the firsthand account, but it's accompanied by the clinical aspect of it. And I've made all of those documents available on my website.
Oh wow.
So,
Okay, I did see. I found this interesting on your pod match, and of course, I've never been in foster care, but I read where you said 20% of the prison system here in the United States was in some form or fashion of a foster care at one point. And
that is true.
that is surprising. I mean, I guess someone would say that's a low number, but to me, that's a huge number. We're supposed to be with the foster care help protecting these kids, but instead somehow their rebellion and whatever their experience and jumping out. I would think that's a high number,
So
even though relatively
it's
20% is low.
not. And another shocking number. So in the state of Texas, that's where I am. Anyone who's a ward of the state until the age of 18, so you're in the system till you're 18, you can go to any public state university and all of your tuition and fees are waived. You
Oh
go to
wow.
college for
Okay.
free.
Okay.
And if you go like within a year of turning 18, then that benefit exists for the rest of your life. I could pick up and go become a lawyer if I wanted to.
Yeah.
So there's this education benefit. Less than 3% of foster care recipient or foster care individuals take advantage of that.
I can
Now,
see that. I can see that.
since we're on the topic of foster care, let me tell you this. My mentally ill, schizophrenic, physically abusive mother, who beat me regularly, did less emotional and psychological damage to me than the woman whose home I was placed in for foster care. This woman, it was supposedly therapeutic foster care, which meant that I was higher needs. I was 13 years old. My mother had abandoned me. The family that was supposed to adopt me, they rejected me. My aunt and uncle, I had some baggage, to say the least. But when I went to this woman's home, what I experienced being in foster care in her home, we were not allowed to sit on the furniture at all. We had to sit on the floor like dogs. We did not eat the same food. They had guacamole and nicer food, and we had the cheap meal kits. We had separate silverware, separate dishes. They used theirs. We were only allowed ours. There was one shower and one full bathroom, and then a half bath in the master. So between 4 and 6 girls were placed in the master bedroom with the half bath, and we had to rotate with the showers, and you were given exactly 10 minutes. Now, you were not allowed to use the restroom in the full bath. That was their restroom. And the last foster girl who bathed had to clean the tub with Comet before any of the foster families, before they would use it. And when I was doing their dishes, I had to add bleach to the water. And that's just the top layer of what that woman did. And here's a story. I was trying on swimsuits, and I came out and I showed her, and she said, "Wow, your thighs are really fat. I'm surprised you haven't started throwing up to lose weight."
Oh, yes.
And that started a 30-year battle with bulimia that honestly continues to this day. It is something I still struggle with. So my schizophrenic, physically abusive mother, I have never had a nightmare about her. The foster woman, who I refuse to name, her name is the bitch from hell.
There you go.
In my book, she is the bitch from hell, TBFH. I do not deign to name her. And out of everything that's happened in my life, all of the events, I have been able to forgive and to understand. I mean, my mother was ill. She didn't get the help she needed. She didn't have the support. The rest of my family, they weren't in the position. I've really been able to forgive and to find peace with everyone, except for that foster mother, except for the bitch from hell. I have had nightmares as recently as 6 months ago about this woman. So it's the therapeutic foster care that did the most damage to me.
And I've seen other stories on the news where they talk about how bad some foster cares are. And I think I've done one other interview with someone. They talked about their abuse with the foster care. So it's amazing to me that and they get away with it.
Well,
because they're trusted by the state, and the state don't want to look bad.
Well, the problem is that it's not nice people who have an extra room in their home who are trying to do good. No, these are people who are making a profession out of fostering. And I'm not saying that's necessarily bad, but, people can do it like any job, do it well, enjoy it, be beneficial. But most of the people who treat it as a profession do it because they have no other employable skills. They have no choice, no alternatives. And I think that kind of leaves us with, the dredge, the
Yeah.
bottom of the barrel type people.
Wow. It's sad. Sad, sad, sad. All right. So let's see, Adrian. Still now, how long did it take you to write your book before you tell me? Mine took the very first one 12 years.
Wow.
And it's not a big book. It's just because I'd work on it one chapter and then not touch it for 6 months, or work on it and then come back in 2 weeks, or not touch it for a year. You know how you upgrade and get new computers? If I would
Hmm.
have been changing and moving everything around, if I would have lost that manuscript, I would have never started over. So it was a miracle by God that I was able to keep up with it to be able to get it out.
Absolutely. So over the course of my life, people have always said, you should write a book. You should write a book. And I never really took them seriously. And as I mentioned, I have my case files from when I was in Children's Protective Services. And about 5 years ago, I decided to go through them. Even though I've had them since my early 20s, I had never been emotionally stable enough to read through everything. And when I was going through it, I got really angry at the foster woman, and I wanted to make her pay. I wanted her to be punished. And at the very minimum, I wanted to ensure that she never had access to another foster girl ever.
Yeah.
And I found out that she moved to a different county. So I had tried reaching out to them. I was reaching out to lawyers. I was reaching out to anybody and everybody that I could to try to find some punitive action. And when I realized that, the statute of limitations, basically there was nothing I could do to punish her. The
Mm-hmm.
only thing that I could do was to tell my story. And so that's when I made the decision. So I didn't write the book to punish her. I wrote the book to share my story and to really show that it is possible to get through anything. And it's just one step at a time, just one baby step, just anything to just move forward, even an inch. But it gave me a way of, really dealing with some issues that I've quite frankly buried
Yeah.
very deeply. And I've been actively writing for about 3 years.
Okay, good.
So
Good deal.
I started with an 81-page manuscript of this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. Just a chronicle of events, and then going through and adding the story behind the events. And I did hire a ghostwriter. What we would do, she got the 81-page manuscript, and we would every 3 weeks we'd have a phone call, and I'd go over the story. She'd write it, and she'd give it back to me, and I would rewrite it. And it was actually really helpful using her because she saw things from different perspectives than I did.
Oh, yeah.
So that was really interesting, but I revised what she wrote, and we just kind of went along with that until I was done with her, and then it was time for me to go in and continue my own revisions.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I could easily keep writing for several more months. If I didn't want to get the book out as soon as possible, I would still be writing.
I understand. Now let's go back. Your suicide attempt. How old were you?
Which time?
Well, I guess the first one, then maybe
15.
the last one.
15. It was more of a suicidal gesture. I took a razor apart while I was living in that foster woman's home. It wasn't life-threatening. there were other attempts with razors, which were. I have the scars. The scars are actually worse than the damage. Excuse me. Than the damage I did. One attempt, I didn't even. It was more of a rebellion thing. I didn't think it would actually kill me, but I took a bottle of acetaminophen, Tylenol, and that was actually one of the most dangerous suicide attempts that I did, because it can shut down your liver. You can die from liver damage by downing Tylenol. So they had to pump my stomach for that. And the gun attempt, well, the 2 attempts, pulling the trigger twice, that was, I'd say, 23. And as I mentioned, that was my last attempt. That's when I knew that I was not getting off this planet. I was not getting out of here. I would not get a reprieve until I had accomplished my purpose. So,
been watching the movie Blues Brothers too much. We're on a mission from God. Blues Brothers, the movie, and then they go, we're on a mission from God. So, all right. So your last attempt, how much longer did it take you to realize it's time to continue living and doing your thing?
So that evening is when I had that.
When you finally took that sense of purpose.
My mom told me that, legally I had stolen the gun because I did not have permission to take it. And my mother told me that when I say mother, I mean my aunt and uncle. They raised me off. Everybody raised me off and on. I went to 13 schools by the time I graduated high school.
Okay.
So she told me that if I did not get help, that he would press charges. So, and I'm pretty sure the theft of a firearm is a felony, I think. So I've
never shot a real gun before, and the way my hands are, I'm afraid I'd drop and shoot myself in the foot. So I don't mess with a gun. So someone who would definitely, with the way my fingers are, would definitely take it away and use it against me. So, all right, now, last thing, we'll move on. Last thing, I was going to talk about, getting through everything. You eventually married, children, and so you can go into that a little bit.
Sure. So, I graduated college and I moved back to Houston, where my family is. I graduated with an international business degree in August of 2001. 9/11 happened. Needless to say, there were no jobs available. I went down a very bad path. In college, I had gotten involved with cocaine. I got off of it. I got sober from cocaine, replaced it with alcohol. And after some incidents, I knew that I had to get out of Houston. I needed to change my environment. I needed to change my habits, or else my life was not going in the right direction. So I moved to Seattle and I had stopped drinking. And I am so sorry, but I lost track of your question.
We're talking about
marriage,
your children, sure. How you're able to stay more positive and happier today.
Sure. Well, I think happiness is a choice. And I understand about chemical depression. I've been on antidepressants since I was 16. I suffer from severe PTSD, among other things. So I'm not belittling anyone who's on antidepressants. I'm on them myself. But I moved to Seattle. I was a nanny, and I met a man who was over here from England on vacation. And I knew he was the one. Now, I thought we would get married. And just to be clear, we got married so he could get a green card. That was the plan. He was here on a 3-month vacation. He had just graduated from university. So he was on his last 1 month. He had a 3-month, you can stay for 3 months without needing a visa. So we spent a month together. He went back for 2 weeks, came back, and I said, well, you could always find yourself a nice American girl and marry her and stay.
That's right.
And so his proposal was, so do you wanna?
There you go.
And I said, sure. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, well, we can always get divorced if it doesn't work out, no problem. And little did I know that we got a wedding present when we got married that weekend. We conceived our daughter.
There you go.
On the weekend we got married. So to be clear, we got married for a green card, not because I was knocked out.
That's right. That came last, or came next. Maybe not last, but next.
My daughter, I call her my angel. God gave her to me and I never wanted children. I had always been terrified that I would mess them up the way that my mom had messed me up.
I can understand that.
And she's the reason I'm here. And I got my act together. I ended up becoming, I dealt with stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I became a certified financial planner. I had a career. I took care of her. I raised her. I tried to give her the childhood that I didn't have. And you'll read this in book number 2, but I was widowed at the age of 35. Her dad passed at 38 from a heart attack. So she was 10 years old. Like you said, there's a book number 2.
There we go.
Things didn't stop happening.
But don't spoil us on number 2 till everybody gets an opportunity for number 1. And again, the book right here, coming out in the fall, Unbroken, Life Outside the Lines.
Correct.
All right. Correct. Again, I really like that book jacket.
Thank you.
I like that.
Thank you.
A lot of thought's been put into it, and the peacefulness around the lake.
Thank you. I agree.
All right, Adriene, I appreciate you being on here. Let's plan for a second one, maybe on your release date.
That'd be great. I would love that, James.
A few weeks before, maybe we'll get this other stuff taken care of by then. But a week or 2 before release date, and then definitely in the future with your next book.
I'd love that. So, can I take a minute to do my little speech, my little plug for my website?
Not till I say it's okay. All right, Go ahead, Adriene. It's time for you to go ahead and do your all your social media website again, and we'll definitely be putting in the show notes as well. But go ahead and tell everybody how to get hold of you and how we're going to get that book in the future.
Absolutely. So my website is Unbroken Caldwell. So CALDWELL, Unbroken Caldwell. You can go there. Your name and email address. That's all I ask for. And then you will get the prologue in chapter 1, totally free. I will not spam you. I will only use your email address to notify you when the book's available to purchase. On the website, you can see photographs. You can read my CPS case files. You can get into as much as you want or as little as you want. And my socials are Unbroken Caldwell. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm still building them, but they do exist. And I do have a private Facebook page, Unbroken Caldwell, and that's for the people that want to have more in-depth conversations with a little bit of privacy. So
That's
yeah,
right. That's
visit
right.
my website, look around, sign up, read the prologue in chapter 1, and yeah, just know you won't be getting emails from me every other day. You'll get 1, maybe 2, just saying, "Hey, the book's out."
And
So
get in early so you can be with the Facebook building and whatever Instagram building. Get in early so you can be part of that. So, all
absolutely,
right, Adrienne, appreciate you being here. And we know there's people hurting and struggling today. If you can leave us with a positive message to help them get through today, that'd be a blessing.
absolutely, absolutely. I live by the theme: hope for the best, expect the worst, and accept what comes. And that's really one thing that has guided my life.
There you
So
go. Good deal. Very simple and realistic, and shouldn't be fooled much during that. So,
no,
all right. Well, thank you. I'm glad you're here. And again, sorry for everything you went through early in life, but I'm glad where
no
you are
apologies
today.
needed.
I'm glad to get to see the better part of you and from there. And I'm excited about your book coming out for you. I remember when my first one came out, I was, ooh, so you're going to be that, ooh, once you finally get it in hand. So from there. So, all right.
Absolutely. James, thank you so much for allowing me to be a guest on your podcast. This
You're
has
welcome. And
truly
again,
been an honor.
we're going to make it a second date later on, remember? So we'll go from
Absolutely.
there. All right,
Yes, we
everybody
will.
else. Hey, share this with someone that you know can use a little help. Again, a little more adult content. So listen first, and then you determine if your children are old enough or you want them to listen from there. Hey, everybody. I'm Dr. James Purdue, the professor of perseverance. Do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.